Welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Biggs. He is Grindberg. I am Biggs. We are here with our Starts and Sits show, or as Mike likes to say, Starts and Sits. Starts and Sits. You like my new sweatshirt?
I love it.
Play fantasy football. A lot of you may not know, but we all went down to the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio last year. I entered the poker tournament, and I came in second, and I won the nice Jamar Chase jersey that you see behind me, autographed. I mean, final table's tough when you are going head-to-head and you're down when you're not the chip leader. I managed to scrape and hang on for a while, but it just wasn't enough, and I got the Jamar Chase jersey. But during that whole day, there were raffles, and right before the Justin Jefferson autographed helmet was given away, my name got picked for this nice sweatshirt, and then they said, you can only win once. And I was like, awesome, I get a sweatshirt. What's the next one? Justin Jefferson autographed full-size helmet. Oh, awesome. Also, at the time, it was like 100+ degrees here, and I had no need for a hoodie anyway, and they didn't have any of my size on hand. So I had to wait until last week when it finally arrived in the mail. And this is one of the warmest sweatshirts that I've ever had. And I'm not trying to cross-promote or anything, but football guys, you did it right. This is such a good sweatshirt. If you guys need a warm sweatshirt.
There you have it. There you go. Go get a football guy sweater hoodie. But you should also, check out our merch store, which is...
Or as they say in the UK, jumper.
Yeah, the jumper. Check out our merch store. It is popping on the FSAN website. It's got every show you could ask for on our network, plus tees, hoodies, beanies, caps. You get it. It's all there.
Does it have every show?
Everyone that's important. The fantasy forecast is on it, so that's all that matters, right?
Now?
Yeah, it should be.
Wasn't when I looked.
It's tough to Google it. They do come up once you get through it. It just you have to find. And we'll have to get it.
I mean, I literally have the merch right here, so it should be on the show.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it'll be there. Regardless of it, it's a great store, and we're going to have it here. So let's get into our starts and sits. Biggs, you want me to start, or shall you?
I want you to sit. All right, so last week I gave you Jerry Jeudy, and he wound up as wide receiver 1.
You weren't here last
I gave you Bucky Irving. He wound up as RB1. I said to sit C.J. Stroud, and I said to sit Garrett Wilson.
Biggs was on assignment last week, and he wasn't here, so he plugged in his top sits and at the end of the day. But I'll go over my Studleys and Dudleys, and I told everybody to start Marvin Harrison Jr., who had a great, one of his better games, 5 for 60 and a touchdown. Brian Thomas Jr. was another start. He went 4 for 76 and a touchdown. Told people to sit James Conner, 17 for 68, 3 for 13 in the air. So not a great day for him. And I told you everybody to sit Deebo Samuel, 4 for 20. Unless you were a fishbowl Deebo Samuel lover, he didn't do you much other than that. So I had a really good week last week on my starts and sits. Now, Biggs, let's get into this week's starts and sits. This is the week before the playoffs here. And our viewers, our people need to know the goods, and you must be bringing it this week. So give us your number one start.
Well, I'm going to have you give us a wide receiver.
Okay, I'll give us a wide receiver here this week, and that's going to be Calvin Ridley. He's been a constant and a consistent performer for the Titans, and despite a down week in week 13, I think he's going to bounce back in a big way in week 14 against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He still remains the Titans' number one wide receiver. He's had 15+ points per game since week 8, since DeAndre Hopkins left. Now, he had 7 targets last week, which is a good showing. He remains the top option in their passing options. The Jaguars allow the 3rd most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers, and the Jaguars allow over 1 touchdown per game to wide receivers. So this bodes well for Ridley's chances to score. So I think Ridley's role in the Titans offense as wide receiver 1, combined with his favorable matchup against Jacksonville's leaky defense, makes him an excellent start for me this week. Don't let last week's dud fool you. Ridley is ready to take flight again.
I agree and I don't. I agree on starting Calvin Ridley. I don't agree on where you have Jacksonville ranked. They are 5th. Oh wait, no, sorry, that was against tight ends. Look at me, I'm dumb. They are 4th against wide receivers. But more importantly than their ranking of 4th most points allowed to wide receivers, they are 4th most or 3rd most wide receivers who are wide aligned. They give up even more points to wideouts than they do. They tend to shut down the slot pretty good, only 9.7 points per game to slot receivers, but 25.8 points per game to guys lined up wide, and that's only worse than that's the only teams that give up more points than that are to wideouts are Atlanta and Denver. So yeah, Calvin Ridley is gonna go off this week.
All right, who do you got?
I got a little old guy named Aidan O'Connell. All right. It's no secret I'm a Raiders fan. I'm not trying to hide that from anybody. In fact, I'm part of Raider Nation, and we show it. Aidan O'Connell has had a very controversial year. We all know the story of how I've been trying to talk up Aidan O'Connell all year, and Raiders offensive coordinator Luke Getsy at the beginning of the season didn't see it that way. He saw Gardner Minshew, gave him the reins until Gardner Minshew was as terrible as I said he was going to be, and they finally benched him, starting Aidan O'Connell, who did okay. The Raiders offensive line was still trying to get in the swing of things. There was controversy with Davante Adams and all that stuff. You know that. Okay. He breaks his thumb. Fast forward 5 weeks. Gardner Minshew's benched. Desmond Ridder ain't it. And they go against their most heated rival, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs. And what does Aidan O'Connell do? He goes into Kansas City and puts together one of the best games that he's had in his career. He threw 2 touchdowns. He threw over 300 yards. He absolutely stamped himself and was the quarterback 13. He's got Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. He's got Trey Tucker as a deep threat. And if there's one thing that you want when you're looking at a quarterback, it's who the receivers he is attached to are. And Jacoby Myers has been better than Davante Adams this year. Brock Bowers is the tight end 1. Those are the types of guys who are going to carry a quarterback. And if you need that deep threat, he hit Trey Tucker a couple of times. In fact, he had 4 of his best 5 distance passes of the year in that one game against the Chiefs secondary. Now, this week, he goes up against a Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense that is an absolute sieve against quarterbacks. In fact, they allow the second most points in fantasy to quarterbacks at a clip of 24.8 points. That's not good. That's not good at all. And Aidan O'Connell is going to be out there with an offensive line that has had 13 weeks to come together. He's going to have his full complement of wide receivers, and he's got a renewed vigor. We watched what he did in the last 4 weeks last season. He was the only quarterback in the NFL in the last 4 weeks of 2023 that did not have a turnover. He had an unfortunate fumble this last week that wasn't his fault. But going down the stretch, week 14 through 18, watch out for second half Aidan O'Connell and start him this week. In fact, I have him as my 13th ranked quarterback, ahead of guys like Tua, Will Levis, Brock Purdy, Geno Smith. I'm starting Aidan O'Connell.
Man, he's going to solidify himself as the starting quarterback, and they're not going to tank, and they're going to, solidify him, and they're going to go for Travis Hunter, aren't they?
I hope so. Or Ashton John T.
All right, there you go. Yeah, there you go. So, Biggs, you're not hoping for a quarterback then at this stage if you think you're that high on O'Connell then?
You know what? I feel like it's a good year next year to give it to O'Connell, draft somebody like Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers a little bit later on, maybe in the second round. And if nothing works out next year, hop into the Arch Manning sweepstakes.
There it is. All right.
Or Rocco Becht, my guy.
Your guy. Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's get into the next realm of starts here, and I'm going to talk about a running back here who I've been high on all year, and I think he's had some troubles with some fumbling, but Tyrone Tracy may not be the first player you think when setting your fantasy lineup, but headed into week 14, I think he's prime position to outperform his expectation despite the struggling Giants. Tracy has consistently led that backfield, and he has a chance to shine against a weak New Orleans defense with a bigger workload on the horizon and a favorable matchup. I think he's a sneaky start. 73% snap share in week 13, which gained in the second half after he showed he can hold on to the ball. He had only 9 carries for 32 yards, but he did score that touchdown, and he did get 33 yards in the air, which is showing that he can have that ability to contribute in the passing game, which they haven't really shown much this year because he's got, that passing catch, the pass catching chops in college. So the Saints allow the 5th most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. So I just think this is a great matchup for Tyrone Tracy with his usage. This is a smash play for me, and I think Tyrone Tracy is a guy I'm going to have in my lineup this week over a lot of top names.
I agree. It's almost as if Brian Daboll forgot that Tyrone Tracy was a wide receiver in college.
I know. It's crazy. All right, Biggs.
Come on, man. All right. I'm going with another running back. And this one is kind of it's a suggestion with caveats. Now, I told you on the waiver wire show to go and pick up Isaac Guerendo because of the injury to Jordan Mason and the injury to Christian McCaffrey, both of them winding up on the injured reserve list. Go get Isaac Guerendo if you haven't already and put him in your lineup. I don't care if it's an RB2. I don't care if it's a flex spot. Isaac Guerendo is going to have a good week. The Chicago Bears aren't in the top 10 of allowing points to running backs. But they are number 13, and they give up over 17 points per game to running backs. The problem has been the presence on the waiver wire and the news of the presence of the waiver wire on Patrick Taylor and the news on Izzy Abanikanda, who we all love. We all love Izzy.
My Anaconda don't.
We all love Izzy from his time on Hard Knocks with the Jets and root for him. And that's like totally fine. And glad that he got new life with the 49ers organization and has a possibility to play. But don't let Patrick Taylor and Izzy Abanikanda fool you. Isaac Guerendo is the dude. We've watched him in game. He knows that 49ers offense by now, and we are going to watch him with the ability to bust off 40-yard runs, 50-yard runs, 60-yard runs. Dude is fast. He's strong. He's going to break through lines. He's going to be just fine. So put Isaac Guerendo in your lineup and go out there and win and make the playoffs.
And let's hit up a community where, playoffs are abundance, where you can find like-minded people, Biggs, where you can ask start and sit questions, where you can do it all. And that's where can we find that, Biggs?
FantasySportsAdvice.com.
Let's go.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Let's go, Biggs.
What is wrong with the studio?
There we go. There's nothing wrong with the studio. It's just the person operating it, me.
Oh,
all right.
Maybe we should get a producer.
Sometimes our producer goes on holidays more than once a year. Like who gets holidays more than once a year?
Holiday is Canadian for vacation, you guys. Just letting you know.
Oh, who gets a vacation more than once a year?
I do. My life is a vacation. Vacation means holiday for our friends north of the border.
There you go. So you guys named the Holiday Inn, so they should really just call it the Vacation Inn?
No, we holiday is different for us. A holiday is like a specified thing. For you, a holiday is a time period away from work.
Fair enough. Yes, holidays. There it is. Because we holler. Let's go. Okay, let's get into some sits here. Do you want me to start or you?
Oh dang! I'm in a live draft right now. And I just took Brock and Puka, and I wanted to take Juwan Jennings, but it gave me Tony Pollard.
Even better. I love that.
All right. My first sit is going to be Travis Etienne. Gosh darn it. I hate it so much. But yeah, Etienne, I've been rooting for him for the last 13 plus weeks. And this is just a lost season. It was a lost season for him, a lost season for Trevor, a lost season for Ingram. I can't believe Doug Peterson is still the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. We had such high hopes, didn't we? Beginning of the season before games started was a simpler time for looking forward and trying to use our analysis to make our best guess. And that best guess was Travis Etienne was going to be a top 5 running back.
Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, you know who else is going to be kept on my bench and this week and weeks after? And Biggs and I had a conversation about it on another show, and we're going to talk a little bit and probably more about Kyle Pitts because he is a tantalizing talent. But as we approach this week, his recent struggles makes him a risky play this week, and his high draft pick. He's got immense potential, but Pitts has been a frustrating asset, offering little consistency and faltering in that Atlanta Falcons offense. The fantasy playoffs are looming. It's time to sit Pitts as his lack of production, his reduced role make him more of a liability than an asset this week. 2 targets, 0 catches last week, 6 receptions for 75 yards in his last 4 games. Played 41% of snaps. He's getting a reduced role, and Minnesota's defense limits tight ends. So the combination of reduced playing time, declining involvement in the passing game, and a tough matchup makes him a risk that you don't want to take in week 14, Biggs. Don't start Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. I just dropped him.
It's a tough one because, that elite talent, he's still young. It could happen, but he's just not getting it at this stage of the game yet.
No, and it's pretty sad.
All right, who's your next sit, buddy?
All right, so this guy we had high hopes for in the beginning of the season, and then our hopes waned when he got benched. And then we had high hopes again when he got put back in the starting lineup, and he started to do pretty good. And then this week he has a matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles' vaunted vanilla nice defensive secondary, and I'm talking, of course, about Bryce Young. The Eagles are 6th best against quarterbacks in fantasy, and I just do not want Bryce Young anywhere near my lineups if I have a choice. Philadelphia is nice. They're going to control the game. They're going to be able to plot and scheme and mass coverage and confuse Bryce Young. In fact, if you have the Philadelphia Eagles defense, they are a smash play this week against Carolina, just because I still don't think as much improvement as Bryce Young has shown us this year, I just don't think he's ready to face a Philadelphia Eagles team that is on its way to Super Bowl contention.
I thought the same thing when they played the Chiefs, and they he completely, changed my mind. I honestly think this game is a little bit tighter than people think. I think Carolina is on the upswing here. They're going to play Philly a bit tighter, and I'm not going to start them in anything other than a streaming, a situation in a 2-quarterback league. It's a tough start in a 1-quarterback league, even with all these buys. I do agree with you there. But I do like the ascension of Bryce Young, and I think he's coming back. So I like the situation for him. But yeah, Philly's a tough matchup.
Yeah.
All right. So my last sit is going to be Jalen Waddle, and he's been just such a frustrating fantasy option this season, and headed into this week, he's shaping up to be a sit. The Dolphins offense has been inconsistent, and that makes him a risk for me. The stakes are rising because the playoffs are obviously approaching, and his low volume, his role has been up and down, and it's a tougher matchup against a Jets secondary. Even though I do like Tua's situation, he likes to thrive in these kind of games against weaker teams. But Jalen Waddle, only 53 yards in week 13 after a monster game in week 12. 8 games under 60 yards. He was held out of the end zone in the last 3 out of 4 games. Only 4 targets in 7 games this season. And Jonnu Smith has had 11 targets last week. I just think his role is diminishing. And I don't know if they're going to need him a whole lot in this game. I think this is going to be a run-heavy forward game. And Waddle's lack of volume, his red zone opportunities, and his recent inconsistencies make him a high-risk play this week against a tough Jets defense. So, Biggs, this is our start and sit show. So I have to tuck my cheeks up a bit to say that one better.
Yeah, scuttlebutt is there's a possibility of somebody's show going network and syndicated, and we need to keep our mouths clean, Mike.
All right, clean. I got to clean up my act. I'm sorry, Biggs.
Not your act. Your act is good.
All right, folks.
Just your mouth.
My mouth. Yeah, well, from all of us at the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Biggs, thanks for tuning in again. And another great show, Biggs. Some important information our viewers are getting this week. And next week, the playoffs start for the majority of the leagues here. So we're going to have a monster show and some big news because Show 100 is dropping next week. And
we should do something special.
I think we got to do something special. 100 episodes in one year.
I'll bake a cake.
On the network. Can you believe that in 1 year, 100 shows? Like we're grinding. We're making sure our viewers are building championships. And hopefully.
And hey, you guys, make sure that you come back tomorrow and watch our injury show. And then Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Come hang out with me. Ask me your start and sits questions that we didn't address today, this afternoon, this morning, whenever you're watching this. Breakfast with Bigz right here on Fantasy Football Advice Network. Then next week, we start Tuesday with our waiver wire show for the playoffs. Then Queen's Ransom with me and Amber. And then back to Thursday with our Points After Thursday show. And then next Friday, the next iteration of our starts and sits. So make sure that you're liked and subscribed. Fantasy Football Advice Network. Go to fantasysportsadvice.com and download the app and get involved over there. All of this stuff. Follow us on Twitter, Bluesky, whatever. We're here for you. We do the work so you don't have to.
And as soon as our merch is actually on the show merch, we'll be able to sell it and it'll be thriving. Let's go, Biggs. All right. From all of us on the Fantasy Sports Advice Network, what do?
Unless your name is Jax, I hope you win.
We hope you win, folks. Peace.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.